Picture this. A successful, beautiful woman. She has her life totally together. Good men, stable men, men who would worship the ground she walks on are constantly chasing her. But who does she think about at 2 in the morning? The guy who forgot to text her back. The one who acted like she's just another person. Nothing special. She hates herself for it, but she can't stop. I've watched this pattern destroy intelligent women over and over. Today, I'm going to show you the psychological mechanism behind why this happens. Once you understand this, you'll see human relationships in a completely different light. This isn't about good guys versus bad guys. This is about the shadow parts of our psychology that thinkers like Carl Jung, Machiavelli, and Robert Greene understood deeply. We aren't logical creatures. We are emotional creatures who use logic to justify our feelings after the fact. So, let's start with Carl Jung. He talked about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, the desires we pretend we don't have. The more we deny something, the more power it has over us. Most women are taught to value stability and security, and their conscious mind believes this. But the shadow doesn't care. The shadow is drawn to uncertainty, to challenge, to the feeling of reaching for something just out of grasp. This is where the addiction begins. When a man acts unimpressed, he activates something deep in her psychological programming. Her mind starts asking questions. Why doesn't he like me? What's wrong with me? Am I not good enough? This creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The gap between what she expects and what she's experiencing. Every other man treats her like she's special, creating a pattern. This one man breaks the pattern. Her brain cannot handle it. Robert Greene calls this strategic withdrawal in the art of seduction. The hot and cold dynamic. But it's not just about playing games. The human brain is designed to solve puzzles and close open loops. When a man shows clear interest, the loop is closed, the puzzle is solved, and the attraction can fade. But when a man is indifferent, the loop stays open. The puzzle remains unsolved, and her brain becomes obsessed with solving it. This isn't a conscious choice. It happens in the shadow parts of her mind. This addiction isn't about low self-esteem like pop psychology says. It's about the shadows seeking what the conscious mind denies. Her conscious mind wants a nice, stable guy. Her shadow wants the challenge, the uncertainty, the hunt, and often, the shadow wins. There's another layer here. When a man acts like a woman is nothing special, he can accidentally trigger her hypergamous instinct. Her unconscious mind interprets his lack of interest as a signal. This man has options. This man has high standards. He must be higher value. This thought process is automatic, and once it activates, she feels the need to prove herself, to earn the validation he's withholding. Understanding the psychology isn't about manipulation. It's about bringing the unconscious into the light, so you can make conscious choices instead of being controlled by hidden patterns. This is about understanding the truth of how human attraction really works. Have you ever wondered why some women get intensely attracted to men who act like they're nothing? It seems completely counterintuitive, right? Well, let's explore the deep psychology behind this. Drawing from thinkers like Carl Jung, Robert Greene, and even Machiavelli. Jung spoke of something called the Animus. He believed every woman carries an unconscious masculine image, a template for her ideal man. This isn't what she consciously says she wants. It's what her hidden, shadow self responds to. And strangely, this animus is often drawn to qualities the conscious mind might reject. Distance, independence, self-containment. In short, the man who doesn't seem to need her. This creates an internal battle. Her conscious self wants connection, but her animus craves the challenge of winning over someone who seems unreachable. She's not just attracted to him. She's fighting a war within her own mind, and she doesn't even know it's happening. Neurologically, this is fascinating. When we pursue something uncertain, our brain releases dopamine, not when we get it, but during the chase. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation, of wanting. It's the same thing that makes gambling so addictive. The biggest dopamine rush isn't from winning. It's from the uncertainty while the wheel is spinning. A man who acts indifferent creates constant uncertainty. Will he text back? Does he like me today? Each question mark triggers another dopamine hit, deepening the addiction. In contrast, The nice guy, who's always available, provides certainty, and the brain quickly adapts, killing that chemical rush. This isn't just a modern phenomenon. 500 years ago, Machiavelli noted that people desire novelty and grow bored with what they have. It's not just men, it's a human trait. The indifferent man maintains that sense of novelty. He's never fully known, never completely possessed, always just out of reach. This keeps the dopamine system firing, which we experience as intense attraction. Jung also talked about projection. We often project our own unconscious, disowned qualities onto others. Many women are taught to be accommodating and to put others first, pushing qualities like self-focus and self-priority into their shadow. When she meets a man who openly embodies these very qualities, she's unconsciously drawn to the parts of herself she had to hide. He represents a freedom she wishes she had. He's living from a place of self-priority that society taught her to suppress. And this projection creates a powerful, magnetic pull. She's essentially falling in love with her own hidden potential, reflected back at her. This is deep psychology. Ever wondered why some people get completely hooked on someone who barely gives them the time of day? It's a powerful and often painful dynamic, and psychology has some fascinating answers. Let's dive into the mechanics of this kind of attraction. The famous psychoanalyst Carl Jung talked about something called the collective unconscious, a shared psychic layer filled with ancient patterns or archetypes. One of the most powerful is the hero archetype. Unconsciously, women aren't drawn to the hero who saves them, but to the hero who is on his own journey, with a mission bigger than any one person. A man who acts indifferent can unconsciously signal that he's the hero of his own story, and she's just a side character. Logically, this should be a turnoff, but deep attraction isn't logical. At an unconscious level, she's drawn to him precisely because he doesn't seem to need her. His journey continues, with or without her. This makes him mythologically powerful in her mind. As Robert Greene wrote in Asterisk, The Laws of Human Nature Asterisk, we're attracted to those with a strong sense of purpose. The indifferent man appears to have this. He isn't distracted by her attention, suggesting his purpose is stronger than his desire for her. And strength of purpose is deeply attractive. Machiavelli knew this. 2. He wrote that a leader must appear completely self-sufficient. The moment you seem needy, you lose power. The moment you seem self-contained, power flows toward you. The woman who gets hooked is responding to this perceived self-sufficiency, even if it's just an act. But here is the shocking part. This addiction often has nothing to do with the actual man. Jung called this Animus possession. A woman becomes possessed by her inner masculine image and projects it onto him. She's not seeing the real person. She's seeing an archetype. The real guy could be doing nothing with his life. But if he acts self-contained, her unconscious mind projects power onto him. She's not addicted to him, but to what he represents inside her. This is why these relationships often collapse the moment they become real. When she finally gets him, the projection shatters, and the addiction dies. Let's look at another one of Jung's ideas, enantiodromia. This is the principle that everything eventually turns into its opposite. A woman who is extremely independent in her conscious life will have a shadow that craves surrender. The man who acts like she's nothing represents the opposite of what her conscious self embodies. He's the yin to her yang. Her psyche is trying to achieve wholeness through him, to experience the qualities she can't access in herself. This is the real addiction. Not to the man, but to the feeling of wholeness he temporarily provides. The paradox, as Jung pointed out, is that the more you chase something outside yourself, the further away it gets. What you're really chasing is a part of you that you've projected onto someone else. The only cure for this addiction isn't to get the guy, but to become whole within yourself. This means doing the hard work of integrating your own shadow, accepting the parts of you that you've denied. It's tough, which is why it's often easier to stay addicted. Now let's talk about the most dangerous part of this addiction. Carl Jung discovered that when we don't integrate our shadow, it eventually possesses us completely. We become the very thing we denied. The confident woman becomes desperate and needy. The woman who had her life together loses herself completely. This is shadow possession, and it happens gradually, then all at once. Let me walk you through the stages. Stage 1 is fascination. She meets a man who acts indifferent. Her curiosity is triggered. She wants to understand him, to figure out why he's different. This stage feels exciting, almost like solving an interesting puzzle. Stage 2 is preoccupation. Now, she's thinking about him constantly, checking her phone, analyzing every interaction, creating stories in her mind about who he is. This stage starts to interfere with her daily life, but she tells herself it's just a crush. Stage 3 is obsession. She can't focus on work or enjoy time with friends. Every thought leads back to him. She engineers situations just to see him. This is where the addiction becomes obvious, but she's too deep in to see it clearly. Stage 4 is desperation. She starts violating her own values, chasing him openly, and accepting behavior she would never tolerate from anyone else. This is full shadow possession. She has become the person she swore she would never be. Robert Greene wrote about this. His rule is to disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. But when you're addicted, you can't disdain. You can't ignore. The addiction controls you. Jung said that what we resist persists. The more she fights the addiction, the stronger it becomes, because fighting it keeps her focused on it, and focus feeds addiction. The only way out is through integration, by accepting the shadow parts of herself that created this addiction. But this requires brutal self-honesty. This brings us to a final stage most people don't talk about: disintegration. Her entire personality begins to collapse. Her values change, her priorities shift, and her friends don't recognize her anymore. I watched this happen to a successful doctor I'll call Lisa. Over 6 months, she transformed for a man who was skilled at appearing interested without actually being interested. She started missing work, isolating from friends, and even her laugh changed. Jung called this psychic inflation. The person you were gets swallowed by an archetypal pattern. Lisa was no longer Lisa. She was possessed by the archetype of the desperate lover. This is what happens when you don't understand your shadow. You become a puppet dancing on strings you cannot see. She thinks she's making choices, but the addiction is making choices for her. She loses her agency, her freedom. Jung spent his career teaching people how to break these patterns, to become conscious. It's a painful process called individuation. It requires you to face every part of yourself you've run from. The woman addicted to the indifferent man is really addicted to seeing her own hidden self in him. This is projection addiction. The path forward isn't chasing the man or waiting for him to change. It's turning inward, facing the shadow, and integrating what has been denied. Only then does the addiction lose its power. As Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." You can choose to break the pattern, but first, you must see it, understand it, and stop running from yourself. Thanks for watching.